this a little bit bigger so that we can see it. But first, let's take a look. Your thesis paragraph should not be half the size of all your other paragraphs. It's got a lot of jobs to do, and it should still be nice and full, okay? So we want to go ahead and make sure that this and your concluding paragraph are a good size. They have some important jobs to do, and we want to take our time with those. So before I zoom in, I want you to take a look and see that this is a well-developed paragraph. A lot of people in their first essay of the semester will just really not know what to do with that thesis and concluding paragraph. All right, let's zoom in here and take a little bit closer look at this paragraph. So the first couple of sentences that you have are just about the theme that you chose, right? Remember when we walked from theme to thesis? We're starting back with theme. And I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences in this student's essay that are talking just about the theme of loss and just talking about loss in general. And that's how we want to start. We want to start off by raising the subject naturally, and the subject is your theme, okay? So we just want to say, you know, loss. What is the meaning of loss? Loss is when you feel grief, when someone or something of value is no longer with you. There's often an event in our lives that impacts us so deeply we never really move on from it. Now, you could see that there were some little editing issues, but you can also see this person did a good enough job that I chose their essay to be my sample essay. So, you know, give them some grace here. They did a good job. And it also reminds you that things don't have to be perfect to be very, very good in this class. And what I like about this is that they're talking about it. They're not, please don't give me a dictionary definition for loss. I know what loss means. I know what an incident is. Please don't, please don't. I have a doctorate in English. I don't need a dictionary definition for the word incident. Let's move past that. I love you. Please don't use a dictionary to define words we really all ought to know by now. Yeah? Okay, now, but they do talk about what it means to them. Like, I'm not talking about, you know, losing my pen or an umbrella. I don't care about my lost umbrella. I don't have any feelings of loss over the umbrella, right? So they're differentiating this kind of loss that they're talking about from just, you know, loss of pens and pencils and stuff like that. Then they start getting a little bit more specific and getting closer to their thesis. Every day someone loses something or someone in their life. Loss can be a painful, indescribable feelings that some people avoid where they do not have to take in excruciating pain. So now they're starting to say some people try to avoid dealing with loss. And that's that second job where you start bringing it closer to what you want us to understand about your theme. Okay, so if you start out just with racism as a major issue, it has been for a long time. Americans don't seem to be able to move past it. Then you start saying, okay, people get frustrated that it's still not solved, and they start losing their temper, right? And you start bringing it closer to what you want your thesis to be. This person underlined their thesis statement, which I like very much. As an exercise, it helps you as an author pay close attention to a thesis statement and make sure it's a good one. And this is a good one. Their punctuation is in the wrong place. The commas should go inside the quotation marks over here instead of over here. But they still got a good grade. I'm going to enable editing. I'm going to fix that real quick. Hang on. So it should look like this instead of the commas on the outside. So keep that in mind. The commas go inside the quotation marks, please. But let's take a look at this wonderful thesis. There's Courtney again. At this wonderful thesis statement. Can somebody read it out loud to me?
In One Art, The Road Not Taken, and April Rain Song, we can see losing a loved one is a hard path to take, and letting go of the pain can lead to a happier ending.
Fantastic. Okay, so now we can see that they've moved from theme to thesis. Letting go is going to make you happier, which we might not all agree with. Be like, what do you mean let go? They were my husband. How do you let go of that? I want to keep him with me as long as I can. I want to cherish those memories. No, you have to let go. So we're arguing a little bit, right? And we've listed the poems. That's wonderful. So that we know that in these 3 poems, what you want us to see. Letting go of the pain of losing someone is like a weight lifted off your shoulders. We find it hardest to let go and move on from the memory of a loss because we do not want to accept the fact that they're gone. And the key to letting go is acceptance of the loss. When you accept it, and believe it or not, these 3 sentences match up with what each of the poems are teaching us. In One Art, she's showing us that we find it hardest to let go and move on when it really hurts. In Road Not Taken, there's an acceptance of the loss. And in April Rain Song, they thought also that the key to letting go is acceptance. So they're kind of mimicking a little bit what these poems are going to show us. And they're taking a minute to predict what the poems are going to show us. They did it in a way that's not super formulaic, but if you're stuck, take one sentence to say how One Art deals with loss and how Road Not Taken deals with loss and how April Rain Song deals with loss. A little one-sentence preview each if you're not sure how to build this paragraph. Okay? Questions about thesis paragraphs. This is a pretty good one. Okay. Let's take a look at the concluding paragraph, and we're also going to take a quick look at the, all right, so this starts by summarizing how all the poems work together, which is a really important step to take. You want to take a step back and say, all 3 of these poems do this. Each poem has its own unique meaning behind them that shows the readers if they accept what they have lost and let it go, it will lead to a beautiful ending. Then again, they go through them one at a time, and here you can kind of see the formula a little more deliberately. You can see them going over One Art and Road Not Taken and April Rain Song. And then they're talking more generally about what they themselves learned from reading the poems. And then they end by reaching out to their reader and giving your reader some advice. That's why letting go of the pain is such an important factor in moving on with life. They're kind of reaching out for what they want their reader to do, which is to let go of the pain. Okay? So if you were in my 101 class, you probably recognize some of these jobs. Raise the subject naturally in the thesis paragraph. I'm not going to save those changes. I want to point out that you have a tool here. If you were not in my English 101, or even if you were and it's been a minute, I want you to open up this essay jobs checklist. And this is kind of a 101 tool, and I'm putting it in here in 102 in case it's been a minute since you did 101 and you're kind of forgetting what goes in a thesis paragraph. So raise the subject naturally, give attention, set the scene, tell us which authors you're writing about and what you're thinking about, your theme. Give a clear thesis in the middle, kind of tell us how your essay is going to be organized, and then get us ready for the first body paragraph. Here the body paragraph is going to be instead of telling a detailed story from your own experience, this is where you offer us that close reading of the poem. But that close reading of the poem should be bookended by a topic sentence and an explanation of how this proves your thesis, right? So only this is different, and this is the close reading, Okay, so you have a model of that. So instead of the detailed story, you're letting the poem tell the story. And then the concluding paragraph, explain how all the examples work together, reflect on how well you've proved your thesis, tell your reader what's at stake or why the poems are important or why this life lesson that they're trying to teach us through the poetry is important, and then tell your reader what to do or think next. So this is kind of a basic skills handout. I don't want you to ignore that, right? It's under the print and read essay jobs checklist in week 3, I believe, right? But as you're working on your draft, that's a really important tool for you to use, right? To just remind yourself, especially if you're struggling to develop your thesis and concluding paragraph, that kind of reminds you of what sentences you may have skipped. If you're skipping things, you're probably skipping going through and predicting what the poems say or recapping what the poems said. Okay, that's where people tend to skip things a little bit. So just wanted to make sure we went over that. Please make sure you are modeling your thesis after the thesis examples in this theme versus thesis handout. Okay, because that's really crucial that you have a strong thesis to work with in this draft. We went over the works cited list. You're going to get feedback on the works cited list through discussion board, so don't fuss about that. You're probably going to get that feedback next week. I'm going to try to get it to you on Friday, but if you don't have the feedback yet, just consider it your draft. It's a draft, so don't fuss over that too much, okay? All right, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to stop the recording.